Hi, good morning. Today we are going to talk about distortion, what it is, why it is, and hopefully give you an overview or an understanding of what distortion means in regards to light and energy, because that's what we talk about here. So if you want a better understanding and you don't want my waffling, I have written a book, a very short book, about all these topics, that's available on my website down below. And you won't have to listen to me mansplaining it, but this is basically what distortion is. So, distortion. Everything is distortion. I am distorted right now. So, everything is light. There is nothing else. There's no light and dark. There's no nothing. There is only light. And dark is what we call the absence of light. So dark isn't a thing. There is no dark. There is just the absence of light. Now, when everything comes into being the same way, every inquiry. So when light woke initially, the first time, it asked, I am. That was its query. It didn't know what it was because it's the only thing in existence. There's nothing to look at and categorize against. There's no possibility of finding out what it is from its immediate environment because it is the only thing alive, an operation. It's the only thing there. There's only light. Okay, so basically the way it can find out what it is by asking for data and receiving that data. So initially, if you look in the book, the light formed its first inquiry and split itself in two. Now that's been happening over and over and over, and you can call this light God. Lots of people do. You can call this light data. I find that a lot easier to understand, and it doesn't carry as much distortion. But let's leave it at light for now. So, if light is the only thing in operation, how do we all look different? How is there a kettle behind the camera? How am I standing here in these jeans that were made by a person in a kitchen? If everything is light, how are things differentiated from each other? And that's through distortion. So when light asks a query, that's how everything begins. It requests the information using I am. So I am requests the information, and then the information is received, and it gives an answer as to what I am. We'll go into that later, it's a little bit more complex, but for simplicity's sake, distortion is a bend in the flow of light. Okay, now we go into active and passive light. You can see all this in the book because sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to explain in person without adding more distortion to the topic. But all distortion is a bend in the flow of light. Light is always flowing in cycles, always flowing in cycles, always flowing in cycles. That's why everything carries this layered effect, because everything's always flowing in cycles. So distortion is simply a bend in the flow of light. So when you were created, you are this one light. There is nothing else. We'll take me, for example. When Sam, me, hi, I'm Sam, was created, now we've gone into the masculine and feminine. The feminine aspect within us all is this light, unfiltered, undistorted, pure light, pure. The feminine is pure, not women, the feminine aspect. Okay, and then the masculine, me, Sam, so this is my inner feminine, this is my outer masculine. You can think of this as the Vitruvian Man. You know Da Vinci's little guy in a bubble? He knew his shit. So there he is. all of us look like this. So you can go back and watch the aspects video or the masculine and feminine video. But if you're already coming along here, this is what we all look like. This thing here. Right, so the inner, the feminine, is pure data, pure light. It doesn't have any distortion. It's free of distortion. It is God. It is pure light. It is pure data without corruption. Okay, so we could say, rather than a bend in light, that distortion is a lie or corrupt data. Okay, so we are all light. There is no difference between me and the person next door, my friend Alex. There's no difference between those two beings. Okay, but we look different, we sound different, we have different objectives, we have different personalities, different intellect, different everything. Okay, so the inner aspect of us both is exactly the same. It's pure data, it's God, it's light, okay? But in order for us to conduct our inquiries, for me to be here conducting the inquiry that I am here to conduct, everyone is a result of an inquiry. That's what brought you into existence in your cycle of life. I need to look different from Alex. I can't be the same, because then we can't talk and we can't interact and we can't have this place, because it would just be light and there'd be nothing else. So we are all distorted. Now this masculine aspect is the part of us that carries the distortion. And the distortion, if you read my book, I talk about it like a bubble in a pinball machine that goes through the existing lines of inquiry, because light's been in operation a long time. We can't give a number. There's no numbers we have that are large enough, but it's had infinite questions before it came to the question of humanity. So this bubble, we're going to use a bubble. We're not in bubbles. We could call it an aura. We can call it whatever we want. But this bubble, or the masculine aspect, carries distortion. Now, when you're born, you're perfect. Okay? That is your divine distortion, given to you by God, light, or data, so that you can conduct your inquiry. So, although distortion is a lie, not all lies are bad. Sorry, the kids have been using these pens and they're already running out. They were quite cheap, so get what you pay for. So, distortion is a lie, but not all lies are bad. Lots of lies are required for us to carry out our purpose. And when light first came into existence, it knew it was by itself, of course, because it was alone. So it had to lie to itself to form the first query. I am. It had to split itself by starting this cycle of requested information and returned data. It basically started an inquiry and it split itself. One portion of it was the light, the existing light, and the other portion of it was conducting this inquiry. Now, since then, there are more inquiries than we could possibly ever discuss. We are like, not even like a grain of sand, like a grain of sand on a billion beaches. So everything, every planet, every solar system, I don't know much about the solar system, but every one of those is an inquiry that carries a life cycle, and everything's moving like this. So are we. Our energy's moving like that, but also this being that is us is moving round a life cycle of inquiry. We are an inquiry. So, not all lies are bad. Some lies are useful to collect the data. So, me being Sam me having a life cycle and thinking that I will die at the end of that cycle is productive to my inquiry. Because if we were all just light, we wouldn't be able to form separate lines of inquiry. And the answer that light seeks, which is, what am I? I am. It seeks an answer to this question, and everything in operation, everything, every dog, every cat, every solar system, every planet, every sun, every person, every wolf, whatever it is, every tree is conducting a life cycle to answer that inquiry. And the more of us that are conducting these questions, the more data that's coming in, the more data received by light in the question to answer the question, I am. So basically, we're not answering the question, I am. We're really answering the question, what am I not? Which says there's nothing that we're not. It is everything. Light is everything. So, distortion is a lie or corrupt data. And corrupt data isn't necessarily bad either. We have to corrupt the data so that we can form different avenues of inquiry. And that's what the Tree of Life is about. So although the truth is there is only one substance, and that is light, this light is branching off into different inquiries. Right now, this light that is God is being Sam, but I'm not God. You know, I haven't got the power to walk on, well, that's debatable. I personally don't have the power to walk on water. I don't have the power to turn water into wine. I don't have the power to create a solar system. God does, but I am a small portion of that. I am one of God's inquiries. So God, light, data, and it's round and it's ever expanding. So in these inquiries, every inquiry that comes into being, which is me, I'm Sam, this distortion, which is me, in my little bubble of being, allows me to form a specific inquiry. So my inquiry is different to yours, it's different to Alex's, it's different to Toby's, my dog, my children, everyone I meet, everyone you meet has a different inquiry. So we all must carry different distortion. What's useful to me might not be useful to your inquiry. And we get this divine distortion. This is the divine distortion. In the womb, we are given our divine distortion. Our soul carries divine distortion, and you could think of that as DNA. It doesn't matter really how you think of it, but it's the person you are without all this shit on top. So if you've got any kids, you'll know. So I have twins. I have some identical twins, and they were identical. They came out and they were identical, and we were worried that they might get mixed up because we couldn't tell the difference. After a while we could tell the difference, but they looked exactly the same. Okay, now I already had another kid, so I knew that kids come in with their own personality. We do not build children. Children know exactly who they are and just amend that to fit their parents' attitude usually. But we'll take my twins for example. They look exactly the same. Okay, but they don't have the same inquiry. So they have vastly different personalities, vastly different. And that personality wasn't given by me or their dad. That personality was given by light, God, data, in order that they conduct this inquiry. Now, even though they look the same, that's part of their inquiry. Being twins is part of their inquiry, a codependency that they carry with them all the time that will aid in their inquiry. However, they are two different beings because of the distortions they hold on the outside of their bubble. Now, they're both girls, but the distortion they both contain pure light. Me here, creating them Our inner distortion is all the same. We're all God. But our outer distortion is vastly different, which makes us look different, sound different, different intellect, all of that. So you can think of distortion as a bend in this flow of light. So when the question's asked, and this cycle of life, for whatever it is, whether it's the cycle of life for Toby, my dog, or it's the cycle of life for me, as it's completing this, it's hitting different distortions, which makes the energy move in a slightly different way. Okay, so this could be Toby's, and if you've ever seen the movie Arrival, I really like that movie, because of the language they speak. It looks like that to me in my mind, the inquiry. So your inquiry, your distortion might branch off like this. And so when your energy moves, it does so through this divine pattern that is you. And it's different, it's unique, it's absolutely every single being is unique, unless I'm sure there's instances where the universe has done like an identical twins type of thing. But your distortion is unique, and this is divine distortion. This is distortion. So divine distortion is something that is productive to your inquiry. Something that helps you answer the question that created you. And that's what I personally would call divine distortion. But we could call it distortion designed by God, or distortion designed by light or data. It doesn't matter what you call this thing. If you don't like God, because there's lots of people that don't like that because of what it means in humanity. But this divine distortion helps you answer your inquiry. Now, counterproductive distortion is a bend in the light, a bend in this, that is counterproductive to inquiry. It doesn't help you answer the one question that brought you into being, the data requested and received. It doesn't help your life cycle. It is counterproductive to your life cycle. So that would be a lie that we don't want. So, counterproductive and productive. So all distortion falls into those two categories. So I could tell a lie. My kid could ask me a question, and I could tell a lie that is productive to them. Okay, you could ask your wife could ask you, do I look like crap today? And you know your wife really well, you've seen her every day, you love her, you know she's beautiful. But today she does look like crap. But that's not productive to your day, her inquiry, her feeling good about herself, which is always productive. You should never feel bad about yourself. So when you lie and you say, like, my hair right now, you know, doesn't look great, I just got out of the shower, it's a mess, I'm taking the kids to school in a minute. So when I ask my friend here and I say, listen, how do I look today? And they say, oh, you look great, you know, you look great. We might not both know it's a lie, but it's a productive lie. Because if they say, listen, you look like crap, that's going to start a whole chain of bullshit that we don't want to start. I'm going to be like, how could you say that to me? Hurt my feelings. My whole day is probably going to go nuts. It's not, because I don't care about that type of thing. But it's not productive to our inquiry. So that distortion is counterproductive. counterproductive. That's a counterproductive lie. So obviously within our environment there are millions of counterproductive lies. Things like you need to people please. Okay? People pleasing. Conformity. Fashion. Now, fashion falls into lots of categories because it's a big thing. But when you follow fashion, if you follow it for the love and you just love making things and people love those things, that's not a counterproductive distortion. But if you feel like you can only wear what's in fashion, and that might be stupidly uncomfortable, that's counterproductive. Or if you feel you must conform, so my distortion, my inquiry, so remember we've got our inquiry, is different to everybody else. So that's me, that's my daughter, could be completely different than my other kids. You know, we're all different. If we all conform to the exact way of thinking that we're told by the Matrix or wherever, we begin to not focus on our own inquiry, but focus on the inquiry that is largest in the area. So the Matrix wants us to seek all of the same things. Now, there's nothing wrong with the Matrix. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. House, car, family, I don't know, holidays, fashion, conformity. The Matrix likes conformity. It likes everyone to conform to a specific idea of being. Okay, this pyramidal structure that we all live in. Now, if we conform to that, if we people please and we make sure that we're always doing the right thing, we won't follow our own avenue of inquiry because we're supposed to all be doing different things. We are all answering, we are all answering our own question. So if I tell my kids, you all have to behave exactly like this, you all have to wear exactly the same clothes. I did that with my twins when they were very small. They wore exactly the same clothes, even though they're different beings. But as they got older, they want to be different. So my identical, although it's nice for me, because when you're pushing identical twins around, they're wearing the same clothes, everyone can easily identify them. And, oh my god, is that some identical twins? Oh my god, they're so cute. And that's a fashion. That's nice. You know, it was really nice for me. Not all the time. Sometimes it was counterproductive distortion to my inquiry because I was trying to get stuff done. But it was fashionable. So I did that. But eventually, when they were coming into their own personalities, they said to me, I'm not wearing the same clothes as her. And now they want to be vastly different. They want to be different in every way because we all have a unique inquiry. And distortion is what makes that function. So when we conform or we people please or we try to be the same as everyone else, that is counterproductive distortion. Distortion that does not help our inquiry. Okay? And distortion makes up everything. Distortion is a bend in the light that slows it down to make it appear different than everything else. So we'll go into how materials form, but this is just kind of an introduction to distortion. So distortion is a bend in light, or a lie, or corrupt data. Okay, it is a bend in the inquiry. This is the distortion. Lots of distortion is required, needed for inquiry. Lots of distortion is counterproductive. So if you imagine us each as a little box and we all have a certain amount of space for data I'm a phone for a moment, and it has 26 gigabytes. I don't know if that's normal. Is that normal? I just bought a phone, but I can't remember. I am the phone. This is Sam the phone. Okay, we're all little phones, and we all have a certain amount of space for data. We've got our question to ask, but if I'm filled with counterproductive data, and I've only got my little bit here of divine data, productive distortion, and then I come into the matrix and I'm filled with all this distortion. I'm being told who I am, I'm being told what to wear, I'm being told what to think, I'm conforming to these rules because everybody is. My data starts to get corrupted. My vessel is carrying counterproductive data because of conformity or people pleasing. And you can only house so much data. So it's harder for me to conduct my inquiry because I'm carrying counterproductive distortion. So distortion is just a bend in the light which causes the energetic movement to slow down. That's how we are able to have fridges and stuff. I'll go into how that fully forms in the 3D another day. I've got to get stuff done. My kids are about to get up and come busting in here looking for breakfast. So distortion is a bend in light, a lie, or corrupt data. All we have is light, data, or God. Distortion is a bend in that, because everything is one thing, but it needs to be bent in order to solve the problem of I am. So distortion is a lie or a bend in the light which creates differences so that we can all be people. It creates a slowing of the energy so that this one cycle that we were all conducting can look like many different unique cycles. If we didn't have distortion, we wouldn't be able to be separate. Distortion separates things in light. Right, so I feel like I just waffled there. But as I said, if you are finding it difficult to listen to my mansplaining, you can go on my website. The book is free. It's about 50 minutes to read, and it will explain this. And it took great lengths to take out all of my mansplaining and just give the bare bones and the facts without as much distortion as I could. So you can go on there and look at that. But distortion is everything. It's every difference. We are all one light. Distortion is what makes everything different. It is a lie. It is the lie that I am Sam, I'm not God, I'm just this little being, and I will be until the end of my life cycle, and then I will be God, data, or light again. Okay? So I hope you have a lovely day. Sorry for waffling. Bye, 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 bye.